Which direction is the Kharkiv front moving? How do you throw a pride parade during a war? And what's the final verdict on Ukraine's peace summit? This is week 121 of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. I'm Anna Belokur, reporting to you from Kyiv, and I'll be taking you through the top 3 news items from the week. Although Russia still controls a handful of villages in Kharkiv Oblast, President Volodymyr Zelensky reported this week that Ukraine is successfully driving Russian troops out of the region. In the month since Russia launched its new offensive on Kharkiv, they've only made it about 6 miles inside the border and lost around 4,000 troops, according to estimates by the Ukrainian military. Warnings are circulating, however, that Russian troops are pushing from Luhansk Oblast towards Kharkiv, making the border between the two oblasts one of the most intense spots for fighting. Ukraine's 3rd Assault Brigade said that Russia is throwing entire platoons at Ukrainian positions near Borova village, which they are replenishing with 250 to 400 newly arrived Russian soldiers per week. As of now, Ukraine is holding the line. Last weekend, Kyiv held its first Pride March since the start of the full-scale invasion. Hundreds of participants met in central Kyiv to advocate for the rights of Ukraine's LGBTQ+ community. The event was tightly guarded by security. A colleague of mine who attended said that at times, the law enforcement seemed to outnumber the participants. Ukraine's attitude towards LGBTQ rights has come a long way in the last decade. In 2010, a poll by the European Social Survey found that only 28% of Ukrainians supported just the general idea of LGBTQ rights. In contrast, a recent poll by the Kyiv International Institute of Sociology found that in 2024, over 70% of Ukrainians support full and equal rights for LGBTQ citizens. Although social attitudes are changing, legalizing same-sex marriage and prosecuting hate crimes are 2 issues that Ukraine, as well as Albania, Bosnia, and other EU accession states, have struggled to make significant legislative progress on in recent years. Ukraine handed out its first prison sentence for a homophobic hate crime in 2021, and human rights groups like ILGA Europe have expressed concern that the country will need to speed its progress in the coming years, or jeopardize its chance at EU membership. Meanwhile, Russia has classified the entire concept of LGBTQ+ rights as a terrorist movement, arresting and imprisoning citizens for things like posting rainbow flags on social media and wearing rainbow print accessories. In both Russia and Belarus, any depiction of a homosexual relationship in media is legally considered pornography, with government commissions reserving the right to ban any movie, television show, book, or other content that is deemed to promote non-traditional relationships. Ukraine's peace summit in Switzerland concluded on June 16th, with representatives of over 90 countries gathering to discuss nuclear safety, food security, and prisoner swaps, laying the foundation for a future peace process with Russia. The summit concluded with the signing of a joint communiqué by 78 countries, which stated agreement that the territorial integrity of Ukraine must be central to any future peace agreement with Russia. The published communiqué also calls for increased nuclear safety around the Russian-occupied Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, and for Russia to stop leveraging nuclear attacks as a threat. The final points involved banning attacks on Ukraine's ports, which service its international trade routes, along with exchanging all civilians and prisoners of war. The summit was successful in that it constituted a widespread display of support for Ukraine, with common agreement on Ukraine's position and terms for peace. The summit failed, however, to achieve full consensus among participants. Although Ukraine's long-standing Western allies were quick to sign the communiqué, those representing other continents were more hesitant. Although Ukraine hoped to use this summit to build connections with countries like India, Brazil, South Africa, and Saudi Arabia, they all declined to sign the final document. The event highlighted that support for Ukraine remains a divisive issue between the West and the wider world. That's all for this week. We'll be back next Sunday with more news from Ukraine. Your support is what makes our work possible. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to this channel. If you'd like to become a member of the Kyiv Independent community, please visit the link in the description below. I'll see you next week.